Oh, yesterday we were working on the first example of the Spring Data JPA. While having discussion about the very first example of the Spring Data JPA, we actually come to know that whenever we wanted to create a connection to the database, then to create a connection to the database, we have to write down something into the properties file. Into the properties file, you have to mention spring.datasource.url. Apart from the URL, driver class name, username, password, then Spring JPA show SQL, then Spring JPA Hibernate, and DDL-auto. These are the few properties that actually you have to write down. Then actually, if you wanted to apply operation on the entity, then definitely to apply the operation on the entity, you have to use repositories, and actually you have to create a sub interface of the JPA repository interface. What exactly the hierarchy of the JPA repository interface is, that I already told you, because if you remember the content, then actually we come across the hierarchy that at the top we are having the repository interface. Below the repository interface, we are having CRUD repository interface. Below the CRUD repository interface, we have the list CRUD repository interface. And finally, we are having the JPA repository interface also. So we are creating a sub-interface of the JPA repository interface. So definitely whatever methods we are having from the superclass, all these methods are automatically applicable for the subclass. All these methods are automatically applicable for the sub-interfaces. If somebody is asking you, are you going to create the implementing class? Answer is no. Spring Data JPA is going to create the implementing class. So we can say that implementing class is going to be generated dynamically. And the classes that are generated dynamically, they are known as, please write down the answer. The classes that are generated dynamically are known as, fill in the blank. Please write down the answer. Such classes are actually referred as the proxy classes. Such classes are referred as the proxy classes. One scholar is writing the answer anonymous. No, anonymous is not a dynamic class because you are writing the code before compilation. Anonymous class is a, you can say that normal static class that is actually created by the programmer. It is not generated at the runtime. But if I'm talking about the proxy class, then proxy class is actually generated at the runtime. Getting my point? Yes, it is. That's nice. So the proxy class is actually getting generated at the runtime, and you can see that automatically Spring Data JPA will create the object of the same. And once the Spring Data JPA is actually creating the object of the same, then your Spring Data JPA actually says the one thing, that I will create the object, I will the register object to the Spring container. So that object will be available for the auto wiring. That is what discussion we have done yesterday. And actually, if I'm talking about the method to save and update, common method is available. For the insert and update operation, common method is available, that is called save method. Similar to that, if I'm talking about the delete method, for the delete operation, dedicated delete method is available. Delete by ID is available. Delete all by ID is available. Delete using the entity is available. Then everyone talking about the next portion. Into the next portion, I am discussing you. If I'm talking about the reading operation, for the reading operation, find method is available, find by ID is available. And if you wanted to create the method according to your own demand, then you can give the method name. Based on the method name, Spring Data JPA will automatically create the query. Then everyone, next thing is available, that is called list of student, find roll number greater than marks. So you can use the OR operator and operator also. But the above approach is suitable for the simple query. Why? Because for the simple query, definitely method name is going to be small one. But on the other hand, if your method name is going to be something that is big one, then in this condition, you will find yourself troubled. You will find yourself troubled because writing very long method name is definitely not recommended. In this condition, what to do? The thing actually that you have to do is, everybody, you have to use the query notation. And using the query annotation, you can write down your custom query. While writing the query annotation, you can specify parameters in the two ways. The very first way to write down the parameter is going to be with the help of, the very first way of writing the parameter is with the help of, simple you can say that using the named parameter. And apart from the named parameter, one more thing is available, that is actually referred as the positional parameter. For the named parameter, you have to use @ param annotation. Into the @param annotation, you have to specify name of the named parameter. Then whatever be your variable name is. So this is just actually used to map your Java method parameter to the query named parameter. Then we were talking about the concept of positional parameter also. And after the positional parameter, everyone, finally, I think we yesterday did till that part. Into the controller, you can see that multiple different methods are available for the update, for the select query, etc. All methods are available. Now let me tell you some basic points also additional that are available. Like very first point, everyone, normally say it is a REST API, and definitely REST API is meant to be used by some other consumer application, and definitely because it is going to be used by some other application, so you have to provide all the endpoints, etc. You have to generate the documentation. We will talk about that documentation later. But there is one more thing available. Can you see that we are actually writing all that into the properties file? Answer is yes. But if I'm talking about the properties file, then the only problem with the properties file is that the property file is only applicable for Java programming. The property file is only applicable for Java programming. Let's say that you are going to develop a big application in which you wanted to write down some configuration metadata. And let's say if you are writing that configuration data in the properties file, then very high chances are there that some other application that is written using Python, some other application that is written using .NET, it will not be able to read the properties file. I'm talking about a very large system. In the very large system, some module is, let's say, developed using Java, some part is, let's say, developed using .NET, some part is, let's say, developed using the Python. If this is the case, then definitely one problem that is going to occur is if you are writing configuration metadata in the properties file. For Java, this is perfectly okay to use the configuration file in the terms of properties file. But if I'm talking about the Python, if I'm talking about, let's say, that .NET, they are having no support for the properties file. For them, properties file is nothing but it is just a plain text file. So a lot of processing is required. In such condition, don't you think that we should have a common format that all languages should understand? To write the configuration metadata, isn't it good to have a common format that actually all the programming languages commonly understand? Yes. And one such format is available. The name of such format is called YAML format. The name of the format is actually referred as the YAML format. So if I'm talking about the full form of YAML, then you can see that it is yet another markup language. It was actually created by Yahoo. It was actually created by Yahoo. So mainly thing is that everyone, it is YAML, and YAML is a common format that is mainly available for the configuration metadata. But now the question arises that, sir, we have written into the properties file. Can we convert the same file into the YAML? Answer is yes. Answer is yes. See, just actually I am right clicking on the properties file. When I am right clicking on the properties file, then actually just new open with component refactor and refresh working set run as debug profile. Yeah, see, is that option visible? Convert dot properties to YAML. Okay, one thing that you should keep into mind. Yesterday I have uploaded this project. Yesterday when I uploaded this project, then properties file is already given to you. Now I am going to convert the same file to .yaml, and when I am converting this file to the YAML, can you see, just using a single click operation, the properties file is getting converted into the YAML file. This time, if I'm talking about the structure of this YAML file, can I say that structure of the YAML file is hierarchical? Parent property Spring. Below the Spring parent property, two properties are available. The first property is called data source property. Second property is called JPA property. Below the JPA property, we are having further properties. One property driver class name, second one is password, then username and the username. For the JPA, one of the child property is available that is called Hibernate. Below the Hibernate, the next property is available that is called DDL-auto. And definitely for the JPA, show SQL is also available. So this is converted into the YAML right now. If you are converting into the YAML, this is something that is better recommended. Why exactly this thing is better recommended? Point number one. The very first point why it is recommended is because this is a common language. Properties file is specific to Java, but YAML is a common format that is common across all the languages. That's why if you wanted to write down the common configuration metadata, then definitely to write down the common configuration metadata, you should always talk about the YAML format. And how to convert the properties file into the YAML? To convert the properties file into the YAML, you just have to right click on the properties file. The second last option is available. The second last option is available that convert the property file to YAML. But if I'm talking about the next thing, can you see that reverse option is not available? Can you see that reverse option is not available? You can convert the property file to YAML, but using the STS, you cannot convert the STS file to YAML. Is that okay? First thing is clear, everyone. YAML is common format across all the languages. That's why instead of using the properties file, it is recommended to use the YAML. At the time of solving the assignment in the Masai school, both the approaches are perfectly okay. If you are using the properties file, it is okay. If you are using the YAML file, it is okay. And you can see that properties file is in the properties file, we are using dot operator to separate the properties. But in case of YAML, we are using the indentation to separate the properties from the parent property to child property. So this is one common format that is available. I am keeping this YML file as it is. I am keeping this YML file as it is. So initially, everyone, if I'm talking about the content of the today actually this is day number 11. So into the day number 11, the very first thing that I told you is all about that use of YAML file is recommended over the properties file. Use of YAML file is recommended over the property file because YAML is you can say that interoperable, or you can say that portable format across programming languages. So writing configuration metadata in the YAML provides better interoperability. It actually provides better interoperability. This is the one thing that is available. Similar to that, if I'm talking about the next part, how to convert the, or if I'm talking about that, how to convert the properties file to the YAML file. Just actually nothing special you have to do. It is something I am telling you using STS. The very first thing that actually you have to do is, dear scholars, you just actually need to right click on the properties file. And when you are right clicking on the properties file, then go for the thing that is click on the second last. Click on the second last option. And if I'm talking about the second last option, then the second last option is that is convert dot properties to dot YML. So this is one thing that actually you have to take care, and YAML is a better format. It is more acceptable than the properties file. One thing is what actually you have to do. Then going to the next portion. Okay, one part I told you, and yesterday everybody, when I was first let me show you if the YML format is working or not. Alt Shift X B. Let me run this application. Alt Shift X. Oh, Alt Shift X B. Let me run this project. Not working. Alt Shift X B. Now working. Yeah, you can see everybody that actually Hikaru pool is getting started. After the starting of the Hikari connection pool, JP entity is getting initialized. Hibernate is in the class path. Dynamic class is printed. So can I say YAML file is working properly? Can I say that the YAML file is working properly? Yes or no? Yes, it is simple. Your YAML file is going to work properly. Always keep this thing into your mind. Thereafter, I am going to the next part. And while actually going to the next part, I'm talking about further concepts, and I'm keeping this YAML file as it is. So Control M, and this is what my controller class is. After the controller class, then I'm going to talk about the repository. Into the repository. Yesterday, finally, we had discussion about the positional parameters. And actually, you can see that when I'm using @query annotation. So while using the @query annotation, both time I'm using the select query. Both the times, actually, I'm using the select query. Can we do something else? Answer is yes, definitely. More options are also available for us. More options are also available for us. So I'm going to perform some more operations in front of you, and I'm going to give you one more situation. Into the line number 30, can you see that return type of this method is nothing special, just but a list of string? Yes or no? It is just a list of string. Why exactly it is a list of string? Because how many columns do I am fetching? How many columns I am fetching? Only one. And this column is what? Name. So what is the data type of name? Definitely string. So directly you are writing the list of string. Now let me go for the next case. Now let me go for the next case. I'm writing one more method, and into this method, let's say that I am writing the next thing for you. And while writing the next thing for you, I'm writing, let's say that as dot. I wanted to find out marks. Apart from the marks, I wanted to find out name. One thing that I wanted to find out is going to be name. Second thing that I wanted to find out is going to be marks. So we are writing as dot name as dot marks from student where. For example, let's say I am writing where as dot roll number should be more than some specific value. This time everyone, I'm talking about, let's say that get details by roll number. The name of the method that I'm writing is get detail by roll number. More will be good to write down. Get details by roll number more. How many parameters I have to specify? If I'm talking about how many parameters, then practically I have to specify only one parameter, and that parameter I have to specify for the roll number only. What type of parameter it is? Definitely it is a positional parameter. It is not a named parameter. Okay. If I'm talking about the return time in this case, what return type you are expecting? Let's say by default, if I'm talking about the return type in this case, then the return type is going to be string. But first point, first point, what data I am fetching? I am fetching as dot name and as dot marks. I am fetching as dot name and as dot marks. When I am fetching as dot name and as dot marks, can I say that the return value is a student object? Answer is no, because roll number is missing. Answer is no, because roll number is missing. Now question arises that, sir, what will be the return type? So if I'm talking about the return type, then by default return type will be a list of a string. But what exactly data is available in the string? Let us check. Let us check. So let me come to the service layer. When actually I'm coming to the service layer, then on the service layer, let me add one more method. And definitely the name of the method that I'm writing is public list of string. And thereafter we are talking about that is get details by roll number more. And the thing that actually I am writing is going to be integer. Roll number is the thing that actually I am writing. Going to the student service IMPL, and after talking about the student service IMPL, then we are talking about this part, that is public list of a string get details by the roll number more and integer roll number. Again, what exactly I have to do? I have to call the student repository. Using the student repository, again I am calling the same method and returning the same response. Okay, for the service layer, job is done. Now I'm coming back to the controller. And when actually I'm coming back to the controller, everyone, how many parameters do I need? Sir, exactly one parameter is what actually do I need. So for example, again, I'm creating one method. Let's say that the method is available with the same name. Because this is a reading operation, so definitely I have to apply the get mapping. And this time we are talking about that is students by roll number. And while writing about the students by roll number, the very first thing that we have to write down is going to be roll number. Public list of a string, get details by roll number. What I need to have, first of all, definitely almost same syntax is what I can copy. Just actually the thing that I have to change is the name of the method here. So name of the method that actually I am writing is get details by roll number method is what exactly I am calling. This time everyone, if I'm talking about the return type, then return type is going to be a list of string. The return type is going to be a list of string in this condition. So what exactly get detail by roll number is returning? The get detail by roll number is returning a list of string. Yes, it is. So into the response entity, we are providing list of string. Then HTTP status OK is also one I'm writing. Here actually I have to provide the response entity as a return value. Cut and paste. Now this is working perfect. So URL pattern is going to be that is student by roll number. And let me just actually do one simple job. I have to use path variable annotation also. Thanks for such corrections because they are very embarrassing when found. Alt Shift X B. Let me run this application. Starting. Proxy class name is also printed. I'm going by the URL pattern. And when I'm going by the URL pattern, so coming to Mr. P for postman. And while coming to Mr. P for postman, hello, URL pattern. The URL pattern is going to be student by roll number. And let's say I'm talking about the roll number 1. First of all, everybody, if I'm talking about how many entries are available, 3 entries are available. Roll number that I'm passing is 1. So definitely it will fetch the marks and name of all the students whose roll number is more than 1. So can I say that last 2 entries will be available for me with the last 2 column values? Yes, it is. Then going to the next part, clicking on the send button. When I'm clicking on the send button, then it is showing something that is method not supported exception. Oh, by mistake. Actually on the photograph thumbnail, video thumbnail. Due to video thumbnail, I was not able to see this. Yeah. Get method, clicking on the send button. And when I'm clicking on the send button, can you see that I'm getting a list of string? Can you see that I'm getting a list of string? And such that into the list of string, if I'm talking about the first value, then can I say that into the first value, both columns are separated by comma? Both columns are separated by comma. Definitely. But is that output something that is expected or better to have JSON object? Is this an expected output? Option number 1, good, I am happy. Option number 2, no, I need JSON object. Option number 2 is a better choice. Yes, definitely this is something that actually you can call a better choice. And because this is something that is actually available as a better choice, then you can see one thing. Student by roll number you are writing and you need an object. So see, what exactly the concept that I'm doing. This time everyone, the data that we are fetching from the repository class, the data that actually we are fetching from the repository class, definitely I cannot call it an object of student class. So can I say this is not returning an object of entity class? Can I say that this is not returning an object of the entity class? Answer is yes, you cannot say. Answer is yes, you cannot say. Not possible. If I'm talking about the second option, then what exactly the second option available for you is? The second option that is available for you is you should create one more package. You should create one more package. The name of the package that I'm writing is com.masaischool.sb101 block number 24. But I am writing dot operator, and after the dot operator, then I am writing one more thing that is called DTO. Clear, everyone? And into the DTO, I am going to create one class. The name of the class that I'm writing is going to be student DTO class. The name of the class that I'm writing is student DTO class. It's a plain old Java object class, that is Pojo class. In this Pojo class, one thing that I'm writing is going to be private string name. One thing that actually I'm writing here is private string name. And one more thing that I'm writing is going to be private integer marks. Thereafter, I wanted to generate the constructor from the superclass. And after generating the constructor from the superclass, I wanted to generate the constructor using the fields. This is also generated. I wanted to generate the getter setter method. Getter setter method is also we have generated. And after generating the getter setter method also, if you wanted to use the toString method, then you can. Okay, DTO class is generated. This time, can I say one very simple thing? That sir, if we are talking about the repository interface, if we are talking about the repository interface, in the repository interface, if I'm talking about the line number 33, Then can I say a very, very simple thing that, sir, we are trying to return an object of student DTO. String response is not okay. We are not happy with the string response. So for taking the data in the form of object, we have created one more class. The name of the class is actually referred as the student DTO class. Now what I wanted to get name and the marks filled into the DTO class. And if you wanted to fill that information, then in the same query, you have to do some minor change. What exactly the minor change you have to do? Everyone, can I call the parameterized constructor to fill the detail? Can I say that this parameterized constructor is good to fill the detail? So this time, what exactly the concept that you have to do is, everyone, first of all, you just have to open your repository. And once you have actually opened the repository, once you have opened the repository interface, here actually you have to write down new keyword. After new keyword, you have to write down the fully qualified class name. After this, you have to write down the fully qualified class name. And after writing the fully qualified class name, after new, I am writing fully qualified class name, then can you see, if I'm talking about this highlighted structure, then this highlighted structure is all about creating an object of the student DTO class. Yes or no? This is all about creating the object of the DTO class. Is that okay? Then talking about the next portion. After talking about the next portion, then I'm talking about Alt Shift XB. Let me run this application. First of all, we wanted to check if the query is okay or not. Right now, the server seems to be started properly, no problem. Again, we are coming to Mr. Postman. And after coming to Mr. Postman, then I'm clicking on the send button. And when I'm clicking on the send button, it is ultimately end up with the internal server error. It is saying that failed to convert the type. Okay, why? My mistake, my mistake, my mistake. This time, everyone, into the repository, I made a simple mistake. The simple or the basic mistake that I made is, this time, if I'm talking about the return type of the method, the return type of the method is going to be list of string, or it is going to be list of student DTO. This time, return type of the method is going to be list of string, or it is going to be a list of student DTO. Definitely, this is going to be the list of student DTO. So this is what actually the thing that I am writing. Now the server is getting restarted automatically due to dev tool dependency. And then I am clicking on the send button. And when I am clicking on the send button, actually the problem I have done into the service layer also, because from here things are okay. Now let me come to Mr. Service layer. So student service, are you happy with this? No. Student service say that also I wanted to have the student DTO. If a student service is saying the same thing, then we have to make changes into the student service IMPL also. Answer is yes, we have to make changes in the student service IMPL also. Here also I am pressing the data type. Yeah, import is done. Then I have to go to the controller, and after coming to the controller, that Mr. Controller, this time we want an object of the student DTO. And when we are talking about the object of the student DTO, then we are supposing that things will work fine. Dependency restarted, clicking on the send button, everything is okay, done, 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 done. Clear, everybody? How to convert a entity object to a DTO object according to the demand? Yes or no? How to convert a DTO object, how to convert an entity object to the DTO object according to the demand. This is one thing that actually we are doing. So whenever you are having such kind of custom requirements means you want actually partial number of columns. Into the projection part, you are saying that I do not want complete entity object. I just want few elements of my entity object. In this condition, you can write down the DTO class, and from the DTO class, you can get the object. Is that clear? That's nice. That's nice. So this is one more example that actually we have done. And then everyone, if I'm talking about the further cases, but let me show you one interesting thing. Can you see that just below this method, there is one method available, and the method is all about updating the student's marks on the behalf of his roll number. Yes or no? Yes, it is. Slash student is there, slash roll is there, slash marks is there. So this time I wanted to actually update the marks based on the roll number. So let me actually just once try this thing. Let me go here. And after going here, I am talking about the request type. The request type is going to be the batch request. After the patch request, the URL pattern is going to be /student. I'm talking about the student number 1, and I wanted to update the marks to 75. If I'm talking about the first scholar, then for the first scholar, can I say that marks is 99? For the first scholar, can I say that the marks is 99? And I'm actually going to throw the patch request in which I'm saying that for the roll number 1, please change the marks from 1 to 75. Let me update this request. Everything is successful. We are getting the status 200 also. In the database also, the thing is getting updated. Perfect. Already tested. This time, everyone, if I'm talking about the query, can you tell me that how many queries are getting executed? 2 queries are getting executed for the update operation. How 2 queries? If I'm talking about the very first query, then the very first query is checking whether the student exists for the given roll number or not. And once actually it is verified that yes, student exists, then it is going to fire the update query. Is that clear? First it is firing the select query, then it is firing the update query. Now actually let me do one job. Right now everybody, let's say I am hitting the same URL again. I am hitting the same URL again I'm getting a response. But if I am asking you for the subsequent update request, how many queries got executed? Only one. Why exactly only one query is getting executed? The logic is very, very simple. See, just one by one. Can I say that Spring Data JPA is internally using the Hibernate? The Spring Data JPA is actually internally using the Hibernate, yes or no? In the Hibernate, there is one area available that is called persistent context. A persistent context is an area where all the entities are kept. Yes or no? Yes, says that, and all the entities are definitely identified by their kind of primary key, you can say. Then everyone, if I'm talking about the next portion, second time, when actually you are firing the update query, can I say this entity is already available in the managed state? Can I say this entity is already available in the managed state? I am firing the update operation. Did you remember whenever you were calling the persist operation or whenever you are calling the merge method, then your entity is comes into the managed state. And whenever your entity is available in the managed state, then it is actually in the synchronization with the database. So whenever you are making changes in the entity, the changes are automatically applicable to the database also. Remember? So see, first time when student marks were 99, and when I fire the update query, so at that time, your Spring Data JPA is very smart. First of all, it was firing the select query. After firing the select query, it was checking, is there anything to update actually? In the first attempt, answer is yes. Why? Because earlier marks were 99, the updated value should be 75. So what your Spring Data JPA does, it executed the update query. Okay. Second time when again I fire the same query again. Again, Spring Data JPA fetches the data from the database and it is checking. Roll number of the student is 1. Name, I don't need. The next thing that I need is marks. What is the current value of marks? 75. What value I have to do? 75. Practically, is there any update? No. If there is no update, then no need to execute update query. So don't you think that Spring Data JPA is very smart? It is actually checking if there is something to update or not. If there is nothing to update, then practically it is not going to execute the update query. Clear? It is not going to execute the update query. So this is one more thing that actually you should take care. So if I'm talking about that point also actually let me add into the next part. And here also I can add. So here I'm writing that in reference to the same example I'm writing. So copy and copy coming here. Then I'm writing. So say current data in the database is, I'm talking about only for one scholar. Let's say that we are talking about the value of roll number we are writing 1. Name of the scholar that we are writing is ABC. And if I'm talking about the marks of the scholar, then let's say we are saying 99. Okay. Now actually the type of request is actually patch request. Hit the URL with reference to Previous example, patch request. And when you are hitting the patch request, then if I'm talking about how many queries are there, then you can see that 2 queries are there. It will actually execute 2 queries. It will actually execute 2 queries. The first query is select query and second query is going to be for the update query. Now actually, then definitely if I'm talking about the updated result in the database, then definitely updated result in the database is going to be roll number is 1, name is ABC, but marks will not be 99. This time marks will be updated to 75. Now actually you need to hit the URL again, and when actually you are hitting the URL again, the same URL, patch request, same URL you are hitting. This time, if I'm asking how many queries are available in your database, then definitely only one query will be executed into your database. This time, this time, this time. So this time, Spring data JPA finds that there is actually nothing to update. There is actually nothing to update, and because there is nothing to update, so no need to execute update query. So can I say that it is saving the performance, or it is actually improving the performance by checking? Yes or no? Definitely. And it is everything is managed with the help of persistent context. All that thing is actually managed with the help of persistent context. So whenever you are going to appear in the interview of the Spring Data JPA, very high chances are there that they will ask you what is persistent context. So you should always say that persistent context is an area where actually Hibernate is used to keep all the entities. Every entity in the persistent context is distinct. How exactly it is distinct? Definitely based on the primary key. Normally, if you wanted to define some different criteria, then definitely you have to override the equals and hash code method accordingly. If your entity is available into the managed state, when it is available into the managed state, definitely in this condition, you will say that's a database and the persistent context. They are always in synchronization for the managed entity. Whenever we are making changes into the managed entity, they are automatically applicable to the database. But if you are creating an absolutely new object, definitely it will be in the transient state. If you are calling the delete method in case of Spring Data JPA, then your entity will be in the remove state. If you are wanted to keep it into the detached state, then definitely for the detached state, you don't have to take care. Spring Data JPA is automatically managing the things for you. So update query, everyone, this part is also clear. With respect to update query, is that part also clear? Yes, it is. So YAML file is one thing that actually we have discussed. Apart from that, we had discussed about the behavior of Spring Data JPA in case of the update query. Okay. Into the Hibernate, I hope that you come across one more thing that is referred as native query. Remember, at the rate named native query annotation. Yes, it is. Okay. First of all, one question that actually often arises in the mind. The question is that, sir, when we are having JPQL, then why to go for the native query? This is very one common question that is often asked in the interview also. Let me tell you one thing. For example, everyone, if I'm talking about the MySQL and if I'm talking about the Hibernate, or simple, let's say, if I'm talking about the Hibernate, then Hibernate can communicate with the MySQL, yes. Can Hibernate communicate with the MongoDB? Yes. Can Hibernate communicate with the Oracle? Yes. Can Hibernate communicate with the Postgre? Yes. Can Hibernate communicate with the DB2? Yes. So can I say that single Hibernate is actually dealing with the multiple database? Single Hibernate is capable to deal with the multiple databases. Answer is yes. Now assume. Recently, if I'm talking about the latest version of the Hibernate, the latest version of the Hibernate is 6.2. I am using the latest version, let's say. I'm using the latest version, let's say. And when I'm using the latest version, then there is one more thing available. When I'm using the latest version, then one more thing available. I am using the latest version of the MySQL, latest version of the Hibernate for the MySQL 8.0. After 15 to 20 days, I come to know that actually MySQL 9.0 is available. Then after 15 days, I come to know that next version of the Oracle is available. Then in the next day, I come to know that next version of the Postgre is available. So what do you think? In every 15 days or for every update of an individual database, is it possible for the Hibernate to update itself? For every single update of a database version, is it possible for Hibernate to update itself so frequently? Answer is no. Definitely Hibernate cannot do that. For every version, it cannot update itself. Second, definitely if some new feature is available, then integrating the same feature into the Hibernate also requires some time. 15 days to 2 months is a normal time period. 15 days to 2 months is a normal time period. Now let's say that you are finding that, sir, into the MySQL 9.0, I found a splendid feature that will actually reduce some 20 lines of code, or whatever code existingly I am writing using the 20 line, I can do the same job using one line using the feature of MySQL 9. But the problem is that Hibernate is not supporting MySQL version 9.0. Shall I wait for next 2 months or shall I use the native query? Definitely, I have to go for the native query. So why native queries are supported when even JPQL is available? Situation is clear. Why native queries are useful even when JPQL is available? Situation is clear. Yes, it is. Then I'm talking about the next part. If I'm talking about the JPQL, then can I say that JPQL is definitely going to be slightly faster? Because when we are writing the JPQL statement, so JPQL statement is getting converted into the native query ultimately. If you are actually directly providing the native query, then definitely there will be no need to convert it. So it will be faster to process. Yes or no? And if I'm talking about the disadvantage, can I say that use of native query will lead to loss of portability? Because if you are writing the native query according to MySQL, very high chances are there that this query will not work on the Oracle, this query will not work on the Postgre. But on the other hand, when you are writing the JPQL statement, so JPQL statement are automatically converted according to the native database by the Hibernate. So there are pros are also there, cons are also there. You have to take your decision very wisely. Normally use of native query is always discouraged, but if there is production, then there is no rule. Getting my point? Like in business, if there is profit, then you can break the rule. Similarly, if you are getting the performance, then you can break the rule. This is a common practice. Clear? Even Java is doing the same, because you know it very well. In Java, primitive data types are not object, but Java is object oriented language. I think you people are already aware about this contradiction, that Java is object oriented language, but primitive data types are not object. So what is the reason? Ultimate reason is performance. So for the performance reason, if there is high gain, then definitely you can compromise with the rule, because rule are to run the system, not to hinder the system or not to disturb the system. So overall, the thing is that everyone use of native query is normally discouraged, but it is not completely prohibited, because sometimes you are finding something exceptional features that actually make your life very easy. Just what additional you have to do into the documentation, you have to clearly mention that this is what my native query part is. In future, if portability is required, then programmer has to take care about that part separately. Clear? How to write down the native query? This is now one more thing that is available. So if you wanted to write down the native query, then writing the native query is actually very easy. To write down the native query, let's say I wanted to write down the native query for the same thing. If I wanted to write down the native query for the same thing, then what I need to write down? Dev tool dependency, please stop. Dev tool dependency, please stop. To write down the native query, for example, let's say simple concept I am writing. Select star from student. First of all, everyone, name of the table. Can I say that the name of the table is ST this time? Can I say that name of the table is ST this time? And I have to use one more parameter. The name of the parameter is actually referred as the native query. The value of native query is what you have to specify as true. The value of the native query is what actually you have to specify as true. So in this condition, everyone, if I'm talking about the query annotation, into the query annotation, define the JPA query to be executed. Then count query is there, boolean native query. For the native query, value is false. The name query to be executed, no. Count name is not useful. So actually I have to use, hopefully query annotation is what actually I need to use in this case. Just a minute. Yeah. One more thing I have to write down, that is called query. What went wrong? What went wrong? What went wrong? The attribute query is undefined. What was the name? Yeah, value. I think it was. It was, I think, value. Okay. So for example, let's say that I'm talking about get all student by native, get all student by native query. So this is actually one method that I have written. And this time, let me return the value in the form of string once, then we will do the remaining experiment. Let me return the value in the form of a string, then we will do the remaining experiment. So in this condition, everyone, the method that we are using, the get marks by name, this is the same method that actually we can use. So here, if I'm talking about the method, the name of the method, that is called the view student by name. Similarly, let's say that I'm copying this part, and after copying this part, then I'm writing copy, 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 copy. And after writing this part, then we are talking about copy, paste, and I'm writing that view student by NQ. NQ is for native query.
बोला
Somebody, somebody unmuted. Please check your mics. Better now. Better now. So this time I'm talking about one thing. That is, this time I'm talking about the return type. Then definitely the return type is going to be a list of string. Return type initially what I'm mentioning you is going to be a list of string. The same method actually I have to add. And to add the same method, I'm coming here, thereafter coming here. Let me add this method. First we are writing is the at the rate override annotation. Thereafter I'm writing here. And after writing here, then we are specifying that return student repository dot. Thereafter we are talking about that is get student by native query. And almost I'm going to continue with the same convention at the controller level also. So I'm going to the controller, and after going to the controller part, then same method. And while writing about the same method, then we are writing this part. And after talking about this part, then we are talking about that is student by NQ. Student by NQ, that is called native query. No parameter actually I need to pass. And if I'm talking about the return type, then the return type is going to be response entity list of string. Let me copy this and let me paste this. Thereafter we are coming here, and after coming here, then we are writing this part, copy and paste. After doing the copy and paste, then we are writing that is, here I have to make changes. VIEW view student by native query is what I am writing. So why exactly there is an error available? It shows that the constructor of list of student. Now happy? Seems okay. Let me run this code. Alt Shift X J, Alt Shift X B. Just I have to check for return value. Hmm. Let me copy this, and after copying this part, let me come here and I'm talking about this. Thereafter, I'm talking about the get request. After talking about the get request, then I'm talking about the send method. And when I'm firing the send method, can I say that everything is available in the form of list of a string? So again, if you wanted to convert the same into the student entity, then you can. If you wanted to convert the same into the student entity, then you can convert. Yes or no? Yes, it is. So how to execute the native query? Is that clear for all? How to execute the native query? Is that clear for all? Yes, it is. And you can see that query is. This time, can I say that Hibernate is actually not doing even a single point of work? Whatever query you have provided, it will be provided as it is to the database management system. Clear? So one more part is we have done. So we are into the repository. This is an example of executing the native query. This is an example of executing the native query is done. Oh, let me off this. Then everyone, so far, if I'm talking about the at the rate query annotation, so if I'm talking about at the rate query annotation or the query annotation, not at the rate, then can I say we are actually talking about only select operation so far? So far, we are talking about only the select operation. Yes, it is. Okay. So when you are talking about the select operation only, once actually let me add this into your notes. This example will be available to you, but let me add this into your notes also. So at the time of reading, you will actually remember that yes, this feature we have already covered. So we can actually execute native query using Spring Data JPA also. To do the same, actually we have to use, my keyboard is changed. Now we have to use the query annotation. We have to use the query annotation along with the value and native value and native query attribute. If I'm talking about the value attribute, then actually the value attribute actually contains the native query, and for native query we have to pass, that is native query equal to true. And if I'm talking about an example, then an example is already available for you here. So first thing we are writing is at the rate query annotation. We are talking about both the things. Is it okay? I think this will be sufficient. Yes or no? Then going to next part. The next part is all about actually using the next part is all about using the at the rate query annotation for the using the at the rate query annotation for the, you can say that non-select statement, using the non-query annotation for the non-select queries, or it will be good to write down non-select operation. And if I'm talking about the non-select operation, then can I say that the operation is going to be either DML statement or it is going to be DDL statement. Is that okay? Non-select operation means either it is going to be a DDL statement or it is going to be a DML statement. Just a minute. So we are talking about using the at the rate query annotation for the non-select operation. So let me do one job. For example, let's say I wanted to update name. This time I actually wanted to update name. So for updating the name, the query that actually I am writing is update. What is the name of the table? The name of the table is actually called student. I have done the aliasing. Update student s set s dot name equal to colon name, where where s dot roll number equal to colon roll, where s dot roll number equal to colon roll. Update student s set s dot name equal to colon name, where s dot roll equal to colon roll. Definitely this is going to be the named parameter. And this time, see, when following pointers that actually you have to take care whenever you are writing non-select statement. So for the non-select statement, first point you should always keep into mind that the return type of the method can be either void. Return type of the method can be either void or it is going to be integer. What is the mean of integer? Is integer actually return how many records are affected. How many records are affected. Did you remember execute update statement in JDBC? Do you remember execute update statement in the JDBC? The return type of that statement was integer that shows how many records are actually getting affected. Same logic is here. Same logic is here. So return type of the method can be either void or the return type of the method can be either integer. Then for example, let's say I am writing that is update name using roll number. And when I am talking about the update name using the roll number, then the very first thing that actually I am writing is definitely I have to use at the rate param annotation. When I'm using the @param annotation, then I'm talking about the one thing that is called name, and the thing that actually I am writing here is going to be string name. Thereafter, I am talking about @param. Into the @param, next thing I am talking about is going to be roll. And here also one thing is going to be that is called integer roll number. That is called integer roll number. So let me copy this part. Let me copy this part. And is there any problem or I have used the same kind of name? What it says? No, now better. Now better. Okay. So this is what my update query is. The first point is what exactly we have used. Now let me talk about the further portion also. While talking about the further portion, definitely I have to talk about the same method into the service layer interface. I have to talk about the same method at the service layer interface. So at the service interface, I am writing method with the same signature and I am not in the need of @param, etc., etc. Simple, I have to write down the things. Same implementation I have to provide into the implementing class. So into the implementing class, again, we are writing the thing that is called the override. And thereafter, we are talking about the update name using roll number. Thereafter, I am talking again update name using roll number. While writing update name using the roll number, what exactly I have to do? Again, using the student repository. Again, using the student repository, I am calling the method with the same name. First parameter is going to be name and second parameter is going to be roll number. First parameter is going to be name and second parameter is going to be roll number. This is another part that actually we have done. Same thing I need to write down into the controller also. Same thing I need to write down into the controller also. While writing the same thing into the controller, can I say this time if I am talking about the mapping, then definitely mapping is going to be patch mapping. Yes or no? Update name of student is what exactly I am writing. I have to provide the roll number also. Apart from the roll number, I have to provide the name also. When I'm providing the roll number and name together, then definitely I have to use the concept of path variable also. So let me copy the path variable from here and pasting here. Apart from that, I'm pasting here also. If I'm talking about the return type, then into the return type, it will be good to say that instead of returning a primitive value, we are going to return response entity for integer. Okay. After talking about this part, then return new response entity. Thereafter, we are talking about integer. And after talking about the integer, then again, the very first thing that I have to do is student service dot. Thereafter, we are talking about update name using roll number. I'm passing the first parameter, that is name. Second parameter I'm passing is the roll number. Then definitely I have to use http status dot okay is what actually I can return. HTTP status okay is what exactly I can return. Let me try this. See, I'm in the controller. I have to hit the URL, that is update name of the student slash roll number. Roll number is there, marks is there. We are passing both the information to the service layer. Into the service layer, nothing special we are doing. We are using the repository to pass the name and roll number. And here actually I am using simple update query. Shall I execute this once? Alt Shift X B. So let me come to the postman. And after coming to the postman, then I'm talking about that one slash. And after talking about slash roll number, I'm writing one. And if I'm talking about the roll number right now, name right now, the name is ABC. Let's say I wanted to change the name to CDE. This is one random name available. And this is going to be a patch request. Do I need to pass anybody? Answer is no. Do I need to pass anybody? Answer is no. Yet the patch request can have the body, but we are not passing. Then I am clicking on that. Can you see there is one type of error available that is called invalid data access API uses exception. One exception is available. The name of the exception is actually called invalid data access API uses exception, and this is one of the expected exception. Why? Can you see the message? Can you see the message? Expecting a select query. So can I say by default, the query annotation is useful only for the select query. By default, the query annotation is applicable for the select query. Can't we execute update or delete query? Answer is yes, we can execute. But if you wanted to execute the delete or update query, then one more thing you have to add. Actually, two annotations you have to add. One annotation that actually you have to add is called transactional annotation. And one more annotation that actually you have to add is called modifying annotation. When you are using the transaction and the modifying annotation, then only you will be able to modify the structure, then you will be able to modify some resource using the @query annotation. Clear it is? This is second step. This is my second step. The second step is that you have to use transactional and modifying annotation with @query annotation to perform actually non-select operation. Is that okay? Is that clear, everyone? These are the two things that actually we have done, and this is just actually one example I have written into the repository layer. So let me copy this, and I'm writing it this in the form of an example. Let me try to execute it. Dev dependency is getting started automatically, and thereafter I am clicking on the send button. When I am clicking on the send button, how many records are getting updated? How many records are getting updated? Only one record is actually getting updated. And if I'm talking about the query, then can you see that update query is getting executed here? Can you see that update query is getting executed here? Yes, it is. Now actually let me do one more job. And while doing one more job, again, I am clicking on the select. Can you see that update query is getting executed again? Because if you are using @query annotation, then what exactly data available in the persistent context, all that checks will be bypassed. All that checks will be bypassed. So can I say that actually the save method is responsible for doing all for checking etc. job? Can I say that the save method is actually responsible for checking all these things? So if you remember the student service IMPL, into the student service IMPL, when I was using the save method, then actually it was checking whether the data in the persistent context and the database is same or not. But when you are using the @query annotation, so in case of the custom query, your query will always be executed whether there is something to update or not. Because this time JPA says that you have written everything. It is your responsibility to do everything. Getting my point? So this is one more note that is available here. The note is that actually this time, even if this time update query, or you can say that non-select operation will be executed always, no matter whether there is anything to anything to change or not. Is that clear? Is that clear? So this is one more thing that is available here, that using the query annotation for non-select operation is done. How to execute the native query, this is also done. Behavior of the update query in case of save operation, this is also done. So it will be good to write down that this thing is actually applicable for the save method. This thing is actually applicable for the save method. Okay. Is that clear? So YAML is there, save method is available there, this one is there, this one is there, query is there. Okay, going to the next portion. Going to the next portion. Just actually everyone, let me check if anything is there pending or not. @query annotation, modifying annotation, this is also done. Native query I have already told you. Yeah, two more annotations is available. One of the annotation, the name is @creation timestamp, and one more annotation is available. The name of the annotation is called @update timestamp. See, what is the use of this? In many of the websites, you might have already witnessed that whenever user is making the registration, then its registration date is automatically saved into the database. Yes or no? Yes, it is. Similar to that, if I'm talking about whenever they are making the login, then their last login time is automatically maintained. Those who are SBI users, I think they know it very well. They always display your last login time. Okay. Similar to that, if I'm talking about overall, the thing is that everyone, There are two things available. The first thing is available when exactly the record is created. Second, when exactly the record is last updated. These are the two information if you wanted to maintain. Then to maintain both these information, you have to use the two annotations. The very first annotation is referred as @creation timestamp annotation, and the second annotation is actually referred as the @update timestamp annotation. The first annotation is actually called the creation timestamp annotation, and the second type of annotation is actually called the update timestamp annotation. Let me take the example. So if I wanted to take the example, first of all, I have to jump into the class. The name of the class is actually called the student.java class. Into the student Java class, let me turn off this execution. And when I'm writing one thing, let's say that I'm talking about one thing that is called creation timestamp. First thing, if I'm talking about the creation timestamp, it is part of JPA or it is local annotation of Hibernate? Is it part of JPA, option number one, or it is part of Hibernate? This is actually part of Hibernate. Okay, so slightly it will lead to loss of portability if your JPA is in future migrating from Hibernate to iBetis or Eclipse Link or Top Link, but their alternative you will find, but you have to make changes. Then I'm talking about one field. The field that I'm writing is definitely going to be of local date time type. The field is going to be of the local date time type field is available there. And here I'm talking about the one part. The one part is referred as the creation date. Here actually I'm using the column annotation. Into the column annotation, I'm talking about the name of the column, and the name of the column that actually I'm going to call is going to be the creation date. One more thing, if I'm talking about the update statement, do you want it to execute, do you want it to update the time for the update statement? Do you want it to update the time for update statement? Answer is no, because I'm maintaining the registration date. Registration date is going to be maintained only for one time. Yes or no? Registration date is actually going to be maintained only for one time. Similar to that, let's say that one more thing is available that I'm writing is going to be private local date time. Into the local date time, I'm writing one more thing that is called actually last modified last modified date. So if I'm talking about the last modified date, then this time again what I have to use, I have to use the another annotation, and name of the annotation is actually called update timestamp annotation. In case of the update timestamp annotation, for example, let's say that I'm talking about one thing that is called last modified date is the name of the column. For the insert query, that should be populated to null. For the insert query, it should be populated to null. That's why I'm writing insert table equal to false. Is that clear? Is that okay? Shall I take one example? And this time, everyone, I have to actually make changes into the application.yaml file also. Into the application.yaml file, shall I write down the value create? Because in case of update, it is used to validate. And if there is any discrepancy available, then it will add the column also. It will add the column also. But if I'm writing DDL auto equal to create, so in case of DDL auto equal to create, you will find one thing that it will going to create a new database every time you run your application. DDL dash auto colon create means whenever you are going to run your project, every time new database will be created. If you are writing DDL dash auto create, if you are writing DDL auto update, it means that it will validate the database. If any changes required, then it will make the changes also. Difference is clear. What is the difference between create and update is for the DDL auto? Okay. Then everyone. And let's say that if your database is already in the production mode, in case of the production mode for the DDL auto, you have to write down the value none, but only for the production mode, because mainly in case of the production mode, your database is already available. Please do not make any changes. Whatever it is available, use this as it is. Clear? In case of production mode, DDL auto will be none, but in the testing mode, you can use create drop is the best practice. Okay. Let me execute this code. And this time, again, I'm coming to my main class, or let's say, let me execute this application. I'm writing all shift X B. I'm writing all shift X B. So this time, everyone, please take a look at the tables. Can you see that previous available table is already dropped? First, it is dropping the previously available table. Then it is creating a new table. Yes or no? And if I'm talking about the new table, can you see that into the new table, Definitely marks is available, roll number is available, but creation date is available. Apart from the creation date, last modified date is also available. The data type that we are using in the Java programming is the local date time, local date time. But here, what exactly database is using? Database is using the date time. Is that clear? That a new table is getting created. Let me add some operation. Let me add some data. And if I'm talking about adding some data right now, actually this application is already running. When this application is already running, I'm going to the controller. And once actually I'm going to the controller, then I'm talking about the post mapping. So first of all, I'm going to Mr. Postman. Yes, Mr. Postman, I'm talking about the slash students. The request is going to be the post request. Into the post request, I'm available here. The very first thing that actually I have to specify is the name. So let's say that name of the scholar that I'm writing is ABC. Then I'm specifying the next thing that is called the marks. For the marks, let's say I'm specifying the value that is called 99. This is my first request. Clicking on the send button. So can you see that insert query is getting executed successfully? Can you see that insert query is getting executed successfully? And when the insert query is actually getting successfully, then you can see that is it maintaining the creation date automatically? Hibernate is maintaining the creation date automatically. Yes or no? Then going to the next section. Then going to the next section. This time, everyone, now I wanted to, let's say that add a few more records. One more record that I am adding, the name of the scholar we are writing is BC and D. Marks, let's say that he has score is 45. Clicking on the next button, then you can say that next data is also maintained here. Next data is also maintained here. Now I wanted to execute an update statement. When I wanted to execute a update statement, so for example, let's say that I wanted to update students marks. If I wanted to update the student marks, then slash student is going to be as it is. First parameter I have to specify is for the roll number. Second parameter I have to specify is the marks, and definitely we have to go for the patch mapping. So let me come to the postman again. I'm talking about the patch mapping. After talking about the patch mapping, I'm talking about please update the marks of roll number 1 to 75. Please update the marks of roll number 1 to 75. The marks is updated successfully. Then again, if I'm talking about the select query, can you see that last modified date is also maintained? Yes or no? The last modified date is also maintained here. So this is what actually the beauty is. So don't you think that this is very convenient instead of doing the things manually? This is something that is actually very, very convenient instead of doing the things manually. And if you take a look at the query, then into the query, you can see that it is automatically taking care about the last modified date also. Here also, it is automatically taking care about the creation date also. But keep in mind, they are the Hibernate specific annotations. And let me tell you one practical reality. The practical reality is that no matter how much we insist that you should use JPA, but still JPA is not mature enough to handle everything. So ultimately, we have to go for the local feature of Hibernate or the underlying framework. Clear? This is a harsh reality. This is a harsh reality. But because actually when we are using these local features, then actually you can say that exceptional support is available. And why exactly this is? Because JPA is a standard that was invented when Hibernate was already very old. So practically JPA is not father of Hibernate. Hibernate is actually father of JPA. So there is definitely some deviation between the JPA and the Hibernate, but still if I'm talking about the popularity, still if I'm talking about the useful, then definitely in case of utility, Hibernate is a clear winner. Clear everyone? Hibernate is a clear winner. So this is a truth that we have to actually ultimately go for the local annotations of the Hibernate. That is a very common practice. Okay. So what exactly I did? First of all, I am using the creation timestamp. Specified that the annotation field of property is a generated creation timestamp. The timestamp is generated just once when an entity instance is inserted into the database. By default, the timestamp is generated by in-memory, but it may be generated by explicitly specifying the source, which is not very much useful for us. Which is not very much useful for us. If I'm talking about the next one, specify that the annotated property, I'm talking about update timestamp now. It specifies that the annotated field of property is generate update timestamp. The timestamp is regenerated every time entity instance is updated into the database. But everyone, if I'm talking about at the rate column annotation, into the at the rate column annotation, one thing that actually I am using is updatable equal to false. So see, what is the mean of updatable equal to false? This column will not be included into the update statement. Clear? Actually, your Hibernate or the data JPA will not include this statement into the update query. Similarly, if I'm talking about insertable equal to false, so this column will not be included into the insert query. Is that clear? Yes, it is. Crystal clear? That's good. So this is the next thing that is available for you. So how to maintain the date and time automatically, or how to maintain the creation time and that time automatically, that is also you can see very, very clearly here. That is also you can see very, very clearly here. So if I'm talking about the documentation, this is what my day number 11 is. Here actually I'm going to add this. Here actually I'm going to add this, and that documentation one can actually very, very easily use. So this is all about actually maintaining creation, maintaining creation and updation time of a record, maintaining creation and updation time of a record. So maintaining the creation and updation time of a record. To maintain the updation and creation time of the record, so first annotation that actually you have to use is, you have to use at the rate create timestamp annotation. You have to use the create timestamp annotation, or actually directly we can write down like this. Similarly, if I'm talking about the next thing is available, update timestamp annotation. And then I'm talking about the updatable attribute of at the rate column. Similarly, I'm talking about next attribute that is called insertable attribute of the column. So about the creation timestamp, there is no need to do so much hard work. Directly just go to the creation timestamp and copy this part. After copying this part, just actually I need to paste the same. That is already a sufficient documentation in itself. That is also a sufficient documentation in itself. At the rate updatable timestamp, specify that the update annotated field properly is generated. Updatable timestamp. Updatable timestamp. Let me actually better to copy. Yes, update timestamp. Copy and paste. Then if I'm talking about the updatable, so you can say that whether the column is to be included into the update query or not. Copy, paste. Similarly, copy, paste. So this time I'm talking about the statement, then definitely the statement is going to be insert statement. Clear? Example is also here, but one thing that you should keep in mind that both at the rate creation timestamp and at the rate updation timestamp are Hibernate annotation, not JP annotation. Is that okay? Both are actually Hibernate annotation, not JPA annotation. This is actually only thing that you have to keep into your mind. Copied, paste. This part is also done. Now what additional is pending for you? If I'm talking about just one thing, everyone, let's say that I'm talking about the get request, and into the get request, if I'm talking about slash students, and while writing the slash students, I'm talking about that one. Can you see that everything is working 100% okay? Okay, it is no problem, working fine. So you can use creation at last modified date. Automatically Hibernate will take care for the same. So this is done. What additional is pending? This part is also done. Okay, no problem. No problem, no problem, no problem, everyone. Okay. Finally, I'm talking about the next part. The next part is all about the pagination and sorting. The next part is all about pagination and sorting. Initially, I'm doing the theoretical discussion with you. Rest of the example I'm going to take after the break. But first of all, everyone, Can I say that in all that Spring Data JPA since the day one? If I'm talking about the root interface, then the root interface is repository interface. Yes or no? The root interface is the repository interface. And if I'm talking about the repository interface, then can you see that among the list of sub interfaces, there is one more interface available. The name of the interface is called paging and sorting repository. One interface is available that is called paging and sorting repository. And if I'm talking about the paging and sorting repository, then it is having one more sub interface. The name of the sub interface is called list paging and sorting repository. List paging and sorting repository. Is there any more sub interface available for list paging and sorting repository? Is there any more sub interface available for list paging and sorting repository? Answer is no. Definitely answer is no. Okay, let me talk about the interface. The name of the interface that I'm talking about is going to be the JPA repository interface. If I'm talking about the JPA repository interface, then in case of the JPA repository interface, if I'm talking about the parent interfaces, then can you see that in the list of super interfaces, it is mentioning list paging and sorting repository. So can you see this is a kind of documentation error? This is a kind of documentation error. So error is everywhere. Somewhere it is 0.001%, sometime it is 5%, sometime it is 10%, sometime it is 90%. So the documentation errors are there. Now listen, let me tell you how exactly to spot this. If you remember, I told you one Eclipse shortcut. The Eclipse shortcut is Control plus Shift plus T. Remember? Now actually you need to type whatever be the interface that you wanted to see. So for example, let's say that I wanted to see the code of JPA repository. I am clicking on this. So can you see that source code of JPA repository is opened here? And here all the things are clearly listed for me. Yes or no? Everything is available here. So you can actually figure out everything from here also. No need to go for the documentation. Directly from here, you can spot everything. Clear? So actually entire documentation that I am opening in front of you on the internet, all that documentation is already available in the STS, but definitely the web version is something that is much more convenient. The web version is definitely much more convenient. Now let me come back to the diagram. So can I say that repository interface is having two sub interfaces? The first sub interface is called CRUD repository, second is called paging and sorting repository. Yes or no? Similar to that, if I'm talking about one more thing is available, that is called list CRUD repository, then one more thing is called list paging and sorting repository. So can I say that JPA repository is something that is a sub interface of list CRUD repository also, as well as list paging and sorting repository also? Yes or no? Okay. Now let me tell you one interesting question that one scholar recently asked me few days ago. He is in the placement. He asked me one question. That's a It is a very common question in the interview perspective that what is the difference between the abstract class and the interface? If we are telling that abstract class is having concrete plus abstract method, but interface is having only abstract method, this is nowadays wrong. Why? Because since the inception of Java 1.8, we can create the concrete default method in the interfaces also. So definitely this difference does not hold. Clear? Nowadays, this difference does not hold that abstract classes can have the concrete method, but interface cannot have. This difference is no longer valid. So what exactly the difference between the abstract class and the interfaces? At that time period, I did one job. I actually connected him on the huddle and immediately I shared my screen to you. And after sharing my screen, I show him this diagram. And after showing this diagram, I told him, can you create same kind of thing using abstract class? What is the correct answer? Can I create this thing using the abstract class? Answer is no. So if I'm talking about the major difference, then one of the major difference between the abstract class and the interface is multiple inheritance. Yes or no? Because one class can extend only one class, but one interface can inherit any number of interfaces. So multiple inheritance is one of the difference. Due to that limitation, because multiple inheritance is not supported in the terms of classes, that's why there is loss of flexibility. That's why there is loss of flexibility. Why loss of flexibility? Because if you want one class to have features of two unrelated classes, you cannot do the same job using abstract class. But if you are using interface, then you can do the same job very, very easily. Yes or no? In future, if you wanted to add some third functionality also, you can add. If you wanted to add new functionality by using interfaces, you can do it very, very easily. So practically, can I say that interfaces are actually offering us loose coupling than the abstract classes? Interfaces are actually offering us loose coupling rather than the abstract classes. So abstract class is definitely a useful tool. I am not saying that it is not a useful tool, but for the abstract classes, you must have a strong hazard relationship. You must have a strong hazard relationship, because for example, you are talking about animal, and after animal, if you are talking about tiger, then it is good to use the abstract class. But for example, let's say that if I am talking about any living entity, and from the any living entity directly, if I'm talking about tiger, then this is not going to be a very good relationship. In this condition, second case, when I'm talking about living entity and tiger, then it will be good to use the interfaces. Make sense? I don't think. Well, let me come back to the topic. Absolute silence on the batch. So this diagram is, I hope, clear for all everyone. So can I say that JPA repository interface is having capability of pagination and sorting by default? Yes or no? In case of Spring, we are going for the version 3.1.2. In the Spring Boot version 3.1.2, or actually internally we are using the Spring version 6. So in case of the Spring version 6, can I say one thing, that we are talking about the paging and sorting repository, and list paging and sorting repository, they are available by default. So whatever methods that are available here, definitely these methods are automatically available to the JPA repository. Answer is yes. Answer is yes. So let me come back to the interface. The name of the interface is called paging and sorting repository. Into the paging and sorting repository, how many methods are available? How many methods are available? Okay, because definitely when we are talking about the paging and sorting, then we will talk about only the select method. Answer is yes. When we are talking about the paging and sorting, then definitely we have to talk about only select query. There is no difference in that. And if I'm talking about the find all method, then can you see that into the find all method, we have to provide one parameter that is of pageable. Yes or no? Is that clear? When I'm talking about the find all method, then into the find all method, we are passing the first parameter that is of pageable. Similarly, find all method is also available, that is talking about the sort. But if I'm talking about the list paging repository, then can you see one thing? The first method, find all, that is accepting pageable. It is available as it is without any changes. But if I'm talking about the second method, that is called the iterable method, can I say that instead of iterable method, instead of returning the iterable, the list paging and sorting is actually returning a list. So can I say this is a better version? Yes or no? Can I say this is a better version? Definitely it is. So same logic is there. Whatever is the difference between the CRUD repository and list CRUD repository, same difference is available in the paging and sorting repository and list paging and sorting repository. Just it is all about a specific form. Just it is all about the specific form. Then I'm talking about the next part. So while talking about the next part, okay, sir, if I have to call the find all method, then okay, list will be available to me. But the point is that what exactly this sort is? First, I'm talking to you about the sorting. What exactly this sort is? So if I'm talking about the sort, can you see that sort is a class available in the Spring? Can you see sort is a class available in the Spring? And if I'm talking about the sort class, then into the sort class, there is actually one enum available. The enum is all about the sort dot direction. And if I'm talking about the sort dot direction, then in the sort dot direction, two values are available for us. One value is available that is called ASC, and second value is called DESC. ASC is for ascending order, DESC is for the descending order. Definitely no problem. Definitely no problem. So this is an enum available that is sort dot direction. And into the sort dot direction, if I'm talking about that enum, then in this enum, we are having two things. One is called ASC, second is called DESC. And if I'm talking about sort dot direction, it's an enum. Okay, it's an enum. And yeah, one constructor is available. The constructor is accepting the list of sort dot order, but let me tell you the easier way. Let me tell you the easier way. If I'm talking about the easier way for you, can you see these static methods? Can you see these static methods? You can specify the, you can directly call the by method using sort. Answer is yes. You have to specify by what property actually you wanted to perform the sorting. You need to specify by what property you need to specify the sorting. If I'm talking about the default direction of sorting, can you tell me what is the default direction of sorting? What is the default direction of sorting? ASC. Same thing is applicable here. Same thing is applicable here, that the default direction is going to be sorting. And can you see that this time we are talking about actually variable arguments? Yes or no? Can you see this time we are talking about the variable arguments? Answer is yes. And when I'm talking about the variable arguments, so can I pass multiple fields in the form of array? Yes or no? Can I pass multiple fields, comma separated? Answer is yes. Whenever you are specifying multiple fields, comma separated, then definitely it is going to work for the multi-level sorting. For example, you wanted to sort student according to ascending order of marks. But let's say if the two scholars are having the same marks, then I wanted to sort them into the ascending order of their name. This is what actually referred as the multi-level sorting. Is that clear? This is what exactly referred as the multi-level sorting. So using the multi-level sorting, you can directly define how to perform the sorting. Clear, everybody? If you wanted to specify the direction, then definitely you can specify the direction also. First parameter is going to be sort dot direction. So directly I can specify sort dot direction dot ASC, or I can specify sort dot direction dot DESC. Is that clear? That's good. So this is one thing that is actually available here for you. You can specify directly. And one more method is available, that is called AND method. When this AND method is useful, because you can see into the first parameter, or if I'm using this method, then all the sorting director is going, all the sorting direction is going to be of the ascending order only. Yes or no? In the first case, I cannot specify the direction of the sorting. So by default, it will sort into the ascending order. First point is clear. In case of the second parameter or the second method, you can see that I can specify direction only once. So for example, let's say as a first parameter, if I'm writing sort.direction.desc, so it will actually perform sorting into the descending order for all the levels. Is that clear? It will perform the sorting into the descending order for all the levels. Second point is clear. If let's say I wanted to specify that first I wanted to sort into the ascending order of the name. But if name is same, then I wanted to sort in the descending order of marks. Then this is not going to help you. Clear? In this condition, this is not going to help you. In this condition, you can use the next method, and the next method is actually referred as the AND method. The next method is actually referred as the AND method. Demand is clear, everyone? Demand is clear? Yes, it is. So overall, everyone, if I'm talking about the sorting, then for the sorting, directly the link is provided to you. And if I'm talking about the useful methods, then definitely into the list of useful methods, the very first method is available to you, that one. The very first method is available to you, that one. Into this method, actually, definitely, it will sort in the ascending order always. It will sort in the ascending order always. Okay. So for example, let's say that if I am writing sort equal to sort dot by, and into the sort dot by, the very first thing I'm mentioning is the name. Then the next thing that let's say I'm mentioning into the marks. So definitely in this condition, this is going to be order by name, and then it is going to be order by marks. So same thing can be written as, same thing can be written as order by name ASC, order by name ASC, and order by marks ASC. Is that clear? Then everyone, let's say that if I'm talking about sort dot by, and into the sort dot by, let me talk about the next method. Into the next method, you can specify the direction of the sorting also. If you can specify the direction of the sorting also, then definitely to specify the direction of the sorting. The next thing is actually available for you. The next thing is actually available for you. How to write down? Then you need to write down that sort equal to sort dot by. into the sort dot by, the first thing I'm writing is sort dot direction dot, then I'm writing the thing that is called DESC. Let's say if I'm writing the DESC, so direction is going to be in the descending order for both name and marks. But this time I'm changing the order. So because I'm changing the order, so this time is going to be order by marks DESC. Then it is going to be order by name DESC. Second point is also clear, everyone? Second point is also clear. Yes, it is. Then I'm talking about the third method, and the third method is actually referred as the AND method. So if I'm talking about the AND method, then in case of the AND method, you can see one thing. Let me just actually copy this. After copying this portion, then I'm coming here, and after coming here, so how to write down in this case. So for example, everyone, the very first thing, I wanted to sort into the descending order of, I wanted to sort into the descending order of name. If I wanted to sort into the descending order of name, then definitely the first thing that I need to write down is going to be sort equal to sort dot by sort dot direction dot DESC, and the parameter that I'm writing is name. Right now, if I'm talking about only this parameter, then this parameter will say that it will do the one job. I forgot to write down by keyword everywhere, which is a huge mistake. So we are writing order by name, and into the order by name, we are writing DESC. Thereafter, I am talking about the next part. And when I'm talking about the next part, so I am writing, see, this is sort 1. Then I'm writing about the sort 2. Into the sort 2, I'm writing the next thing, that is sort 1 dot end. And this time I'm writing sort dot name ASC, and then I'm writing marks. So how it will be converted? First, it is going to be order by name DESC, and then it is going to be order by marks ASC. Is that okay? How to specify the sorting criteria? Everyone, is that okay? How to specify the sorting criteria? So don't you think this is very, very simple? Don't you think this is very, very simple? Okay. So when you are using this sorting mechanism, then this is actually referred as the dynamic sorting. This is actually referred as the dynamic sorting because you can specify the criteria according to your choice, and definitely you can change the sorting criteria during the execution also by involving the user input. By involving the user input, you can include that. But there is one more feature available, and that feature is actually referred as the static sorting. That feature is actually referred as the static sorting. When I'm talking about the static sorting, then isn't it reasonable to say that we cannot change the sorting criteria? Isn't it good to say that this time we are talking about sorting criteria? So let me write down one method for you. The name of the method, written type of the method I am writing is list of student it is going to return. Name of the method I am writing is find top 3 by name. Find top 3 by marks will be good to write down. Let's say find top 3 by marks greater than. And here I am passing one parameter that is called integer marks. So this time, everyone, if I'm talking about the query, then the generated query is going to be, I'm writing the JPQL statement. It is going to be select as dot definitely roll number, as dot definitely name, and as dot marks from student as where marks is greater than colon marks. But, 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 it will include limit 0, 3 also. Clear, everyone? This first example is clear. Top 3 by marks greater than. Writing the name of the methods that is called top 3 by marks greater than. And the same thing is already provided to you in your documentation also. So once actually let me open the documentation for you. Just a second. Notion.so slash I'm talking about day number. I think it was some 10, 11. Notion. And I'm jumping to that one. And after jumping to that one, just a second. It is day number 14, exception data validation is here. Here actually, yeah, last page. That is already shared to you the day before yesterday. Let me come to the bottom of this page. I'm available at the bottom of this page. And when I'm available at the bottom of this page, everyone, can you see these methods? Can you see this method? find top 5 by marks. So it is simple actually using the limit clause. It is simple using the limit clause. Can you see that the next method is available? Find top 5 by order by name DESC. Find top 5 by order by name DESC. And in this condition, if I'm talking about the query, then query is going to be select as dot roll number, as dot name, as dot marks from student S. From student S. And this time we have to specify that is order by. Into the order by, we have to write down as dot name DESC, and this is going to be limit 0, 5. So can I say this is an example of static sorting? Because I have fixed the sorting order in the method name. Because the sorting order is already fixed in the method name, that's why this is referred as the static sorting. But in case of dynamic sorting, can I say these parameters I can even take from the user input? And even if I can take them from the user input, that's why this is referred as the dynamic sorting. Clear it is? So this is what actually static sorting is. This is what actually dynamic sorting is. Paging is also pending, but as per the commitment, it's a good time to take break. And okay, 2-3 minutes extra for you today. So welcome back after the break. So we were taking example of the static sorting as well as dynamic sorting. So just for the sake of taking the example, and let me copy this and directly going to repository. Into the repository, I'm adding this method, public list of a student, find top 5 by student name DESC, and putting semicolon here. Let me stop this application once. Hmm. So one method I have added, that is for find top 5 by order by name DESC. And let me add this method also. Let me add this method also. Both the methods I have actually added into the repository interface. And once actually I have added both into the repository interface. So let me copy this method and I'm coming to student service. Actually, I can copy the entire signature. Copying this entire signature, coming to the student service. Into the student service, just before update, I am adding this method. And this time I am just changing the name from find to get. Coming to the repository, implementing class. And into the implementing class, again, I'm using @ override annotation. And I'm talking about the same thing. Same logic. I'm going to repeat again that I wanted to call the method that is find top 5 by order by name DESC. Service layer is done. Then I'm going to the next layer. And the next layer is going to be the controller layer. Into the controller layer, again, I'm talking about the operations. So same method I have repeated here again. Let me adjust slightly. Now hand is okay. Just a minute. Hmm. So here what I need to return, definitely a list of student I wanted to return, and this will be in the form of a response entity. Let me copy this and then paste the same thing here, that is closing angle bracket, and return new response entity. But this time into the response entity, I wanted to return object of list of student type. So let me copy this. Let me paste this. So return new response entity list of student service dot. Then I'm talking about the method that is get top 5 by name and passing this part. Then talking about http status dot okay. So let's say that I'm talking about the name of the method. That name of the method is going to be get 5 by name. Get 5 by name. This is the only name that actually I'm writing. Similar to that, I'm providing the implementation for the next method also. The next method that actually we are having is find top 3 by marks greater than. First of all, total I'm having 3 records. And if I'm talking about the minimum marks in this condition, then I think minimum marks is already some 45. Uh, I think I have, when I will restart, then database will be created again. So I have to change the application.yml. I think it will be good to write down update again. Yes or no? So into the student repository, let me copy this method name again. After copying this method name again, then coming to this part, let me copy the same name. Just actually instead of find, I'm using the get, yet you can use the same name also. Going to the implementing class. Into the implementing class, then I'm available here. Then we are talking about at the rate override annotation. Again, we are writing return student repository dot. Into the dot, then again we are talking about find top 3 by marks greater than marks is what exactly I am writing. Then going to copy the same part, and after going to copy the same part, then I'm talking about the student repository. And if I'm talking about student repository, then I'm talking about the get mapping, and here I'm writing that get 3 by marks. Let's say I'm writing that is get 3 by marks, and while writing the get 3 by marks, writing the slash, and definitely I have to specify the marks as a parameter. When I specifying the marks as a parameter, then we have to use one more annotation. The name of the annotation is called actually path variable annotation. Definitely, again, we have to talk about the response entity. And after talking about the response entity, then we are talking about the thing that is called return new. And we are talking about the response entity. Into the response entity, we have to talk about the list of student, bracket open, bracket close. Then again, using the student service dot get, then we are talking about the name of the method that is going to be top 3 by marks greater than. And after writing the top 3 by marks greater than, then writing the comma operator, and then I'm writing one more thing that is called http status dot okay. Then I'm writing http status dot okay is what exactly I'm writing. So get mapping is there, get 3 by marks is there. Shall I once execute this application? Shall I once execute this application? Hold shift X, B is what I am writing. Hmm. Everything is working perfect. And if I'm talking about the table, then table already exists. First of all, definitely I have to add some records. First of all, actually, I have to add some records. I'm available in Postman. Types of request is going to be the post request. Then we are talking about the slash student. After writing the slash student, let me actually first copy this object. And after copying this object, I'm pasting the same object here. And after copying the same object here, then we are talking about the next part and clicking on the send button. Actually, roll number was not required, but I have sent. Then talking about the next, I'm talking about BCD and marks. Let's say that I'm writing is the 85. So hitting perfectly working. And everyone, one thing right now you can see that marks I have not provided into the quotation mark. Null value, number value. You are not supposed to specify into the double quotation. If you are specifying, then it is okay. If you are not specifying, still it will work for you. Still it will work for you. So I'm talking about the next scholar. For the next scholar, let's say that marks I'm writing is 75. Then select star is there. Can you see that all the marks are here? Answer is yes. And if you wanted to fire the update request, then definitely you can fire the patch request also. So for the patch request, I'm writing /1/95. This is actually not required. Clicking on the send button. So you can see that last modified date is also available. Now I wanted to hit the, let me add some more data. So while adding some more data, let's say that I'm talking about name of the scholar I am writing is TYR. Marks, let's say I'm writing is the 65. Is that added? Answer is yes. Then I'm talking about one more thing that is YTR. Marks, let's say I'm writing is going to be the 55. Clicking on the send button, then definitely this is working fine. So if I'm talking about this part, then you can see 95, 85, 75, all the records are available there. And 3 records. I'm sending the patch request. Added. And then when I'm writing TYR marks, I'm writing is 65. Is that added? Added. Finally, all the 5 entries are available for me. Let me actually go for one more entry. Name of the entry I'm writing is IYU. And I'm writing here the marks is going to be 54. Thereafter, I'm adding one more scholar. The name of the scholar, I'm writing some random data I'm adding. Marks is 44. Clicking on add, send. How many records are available? Total 7 records available. Out of the 7 records, now I wanted to fetch how many number of records. The total number of records that actually I wanted to fetch is going to be, that is get 3 by marks. This is going to be, that is called get 3 by marks. Oh, sorry, get 5 by name. Get 5 by name. Type of request is going to be the get request. Clicking on the send button. Clicking on the send button. Body is insignificant because this is a get request. So definitely body is insignificant. How many records are available, dear scholars? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 records are total available to me. 5 records are total available to me. Can I say that all the records are available into the descending order of name? Y, U, T, I, C. Just actually take a look at the query also. Take a look at the query also. Can I say that actually the records are available into the descending order of name? Query is perfect? Yes or no? And we are getting first 5 requests. Talking about the next part, that is get 3 by marks. Get 3 by marks. So right now I am talking about the get 3 by marks. What is the minimum marks I am specifying? The minimum marks that actually I am specifying is 60. And when I am specifying 60, so how many records do I need to fetch? I need to fetch only 3 records, and all the 3 records will be fetched on the behalf of marks. Let me click on this. How many records are available? 3 records are available. So can I say that this static sorting is working perfectly okay? Take a look at the query, please. Can I say that this static sorting is working perfectly okay? Yes or no? Yes, it is. Similar to that, if you wanted to talk about the dynamic sorting, then definitely dynamic sorting is something that also what you can do. So if I'm talking about the dynamic sorting, everyone, then for the dynamic sorting, nothing special I have to do. I'm just going to give you one example. Let's say that I wanted to see all the records into the ascending order of marks. If the marks is same, then I wanted to see the same into the descending order of name. Will it be okay? I wanted to see the records into the ascending order of marks. If the marks is same, then I wanted to see the records into the descending order of name. Query is clear? So into the repository, do I need to add anything? Into this repository class, do I need to add any method? Answer is no. Answer is no. Why? Because ultimately I'm going to use find all method. Yes or no? Ultimately, I'm going to use find all method, and into the find all method, I have to specify the sorting criteria also. Make sense, everyone? I have to specify the sorting criteria also. When I was talking to you about the list paging and sorting repository, then can you see that into the list paging and sorting repository, find all method is already available. I just have to call this method from the service layer. I just have to call this method from the service layer using the student repository object, and sorting object is what I can configure. Clear it is? Sorting object is what I can configure. So let me directly go to the service class, service interface. Into the service interface, I am creating one more method. The name of the method that actually I am writing is get by name and marks. And see everyone what exactly I am doing. See what exactly I am doing. Let me stop this. And the very first thing I'm doing is I'm writing the name of the method, that is get by name and marks. Into the get by name and marks, the very first thing I'm writing is that is direction 1. Then I'm talking that is field 1. On the same criteria, I am copying. And after copying this part, then I'm talking about the thing that is called direction 2. And after the direction 2, then I'm writing the next thing that is actually called the field 2. Is that okay? Is that okay? So then everyone, one method I have created into the service class. Then coming to the implementing class. Into the implementing class, again, I'm talking about @override. And when I'm talking about @override, then you can see one thing that we are getting get by name and marks. And if I'm talking about the get by name and marks, what can be the possible value of direction? Ascending and descending. Yes or no? The possible value for direction can be ascending or descending. Yes, it is. So can I say for the direction 1 and direction 2, the value is going to be either ascending or descending? Clear it is. So first thing I am writing, if the direction one dot equals ignore case, the value is ASC, that is ascending. So can I say that we wanted to arrange into the ascending order of the first field? Yes or no? Okay. So whatever be my first field name is, if I'm talking about the value for the first field one, it can be any, it can be role, it can be name, it can be marks. Similarly, if I'm talking about the field two, it can be role, it can be name, it can be marks. Is that clear? Complete flexible method I am creating in which you can specify the field name also. Apart from the field name, you can specify the direction also. Apart from that, you can specify the direction also. That is what actually you can do. And actually it will be good to slightly adjust the parameter order. When I'm adjusting that parameter order, I think this is going to be more helpful for you. Is that okay? Field 1, direction 1, field 2, direction 2. That sequence is going to be comparatively much better. So copy, paste, and that method I have done. Now what exactly I am writing? If the direction 1 dots equals ignore case if it is ascending. In this condition, everyone, first what I'm doing, I'm creating sort equal to null, creating an empty object of sort. First thing I'm doing is create an empty, or you can say that create a reference variable of sort. When I'm creating one reference variable of sort, then can you see that I'm writing sort dot by method I'm writing that is sort dot by method is what actually we are calling. I think I have imported wrong sort method. I think I have imported wrong sort method. I think that one second, everyone. This sort is actually available of data dot domain dot sort. The problem is that wrong import takes place. Wrong import takes place. I do not wanted to import from spring.data.web, but actually I wanted to import the sort from spring.framework.data.domain. That is what I need to do. That's why this mix-up takes place. That's why this mix-up takes place. So in this condition, everyone, can I write down this thing? Can I write down this thing? And in this thing, can I write down field one? By default order is ascending. Make sense, everyone? By default order is ascending. Make sense? Into this case, can I say that I have to specify the sorting criteria as descending? Can I say in this case, I have to specify the sorting criteria as descending? Is that okay? First logic is clear, everybody? First logic is clear. Similarly, everyone, the same logic I have to repeat for the direction 2 also. Let's say into the direction 2, if I'm writing DESC, then if I'm writing the one thing that is called the direction 2, and if I'm talking about the direction 2, then the thing that I have to write down is going to be field 2. So we are writing sort dot by. Instead of writing sort dot by, can I say that I have to use the AND operator? Yes or no? Can I say that I have to use the AND operator, and here I am writing sort dot by into the sort dot by. Instead of field 1, we have to write down the thing that is called field 2. Make sense, everyone? I'm talking about the sort dot end method. And if I'm talking about the end method, then end method is actually not a static method. So simply I am writing that one. If this is not the case, if this is not the case, then the only thing that I have to do is, everyone, I have to specify that is sort dot direction dot DESC. Clear it is? Please check the logic. Please check the sorting logic. Shall I proceed further if it is clear? Shall I proceed further if it is clear? Yes, it is. The only correction was there that I already done. So this time, what exactly the thing I need to do? I'm writing return. After the return, I am talking about the student repository. From the student repository, I can call the find all method. And into the find all method, I am specifying the sorting criteria also. Is that clear? Actually, the name of the method is by name and marks, but actually it is by any field, any order. It is actually by any field, any order. So actually we can rename this. To rename refactor, Alt Shift R. After pressing the Alt Shift R, whatever changes I am making here, these changes will be automatically applicable everywhere. So refactor facility, you might have done multiple times. So let's say that we are writing get by custom sort order, actually orders, get by custom sort orders, automatically the changes applicable. Now I wanted to create the method into the controller also. When I'm creating the method into the controller also, everyone, so again we are talking here, name of the method is available here. After writing the name of the method available here, then we are talking about, we are going to get the list of response entity. We are talking about the list of response entity. And when I'm talking about the list of response entity, everyone, then again response entity list of student. And then I'm talking about get by custom sorting order. Get by custom sorting order. The first parameter I have to pass is the field one. The second parameter I have to pass is going to be the direction one. The third parameter that I have to pass is going to be the field two. And the next parameter I have to pass is going to be the direction two. All these things I wanted to take from the get parameter, and because I wanted to take everything from the get parameter, so I am writing name of the method that is going to be get by custom sort orders. And when I'm writing get custom sort order, then definitely first parameter is going to be field 1. Next parameter is going to be direction 1. Third parameter is going to be field 2. And the fourth parameter is going to be direction 2. And definitely I have to use path variable in this case. Is that okay? I have to use path variable in this case. Hmm. This is one more part that actually we have done. So shall I take one example? Let us execute this application and see if it is working properly or not. So for this thing, everyone, let me first of all relaunch this application. Okay. When we are talking about this thing, then let me come to this, and after coming to this, then talking about this one. First thing, I wanted to get it sorted into the ascending order of name. Then I wanted to get it sorted into the descending order of marks. URL pattern is clear. First parameter ASC, second name, third DESC, and fourth is marks, and it is showing internal server error. It says that no property ASC found for type student. Might be I'm making some mistake. Let me check. Let me check it. So what I did wrong. What I did wrong. First thing, everyone, the point that actually I did wrong is, let me scroll up. It says that property reference, no property ASC found for the name student. Might be I'm making some mistake while calling this method. Let me go to the implementation. Just a minute, just a minute, just a minute. I have passed the parameters in the wrong order. I have passed the parameters in the wrong order. The first parameter is the field name. The second parameter is going to be the ascending order. The third parameter is going to be the marks. And the fourth parameter is going to be the order, that is the ESC. Now everyone, the entire data is available here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever be the records available. Directly we are interested in the query. Directly we are interested in the query. Then you can see that select S1 something 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 something. Please take a look and please tell me if the query is executing properly or not. Please tell me if the query is working properly or not. Working. So this is what actually your custom sorting is. Static sorting and dynamic sorting, both are clear. Static sorting, dynamic sorting, both are clear, hopefully. Finally, the last thing that is actually pending for us is pagination. The final part that is pending for us is actually called pagination. So let me close the sorting. The sorting is something I have done. So we are in the JPA repository. If I'm talking about one more method, this method is called the find all method. Can you see that find all method is accepting a parameter of type pageable? The first method, that is find all, it is accepting a parameter of type pageable. So let me come to the pageable class. If I'm talking about the pageable, it is an interface. If I'm talking about the pageable, it is not a class, but actually it is an interface. It is an abstract interface for pagination information. It is an abstract interface for the pagination information. So here you can see that JPA repository is something we have already done. Pagination sorting repository is something that actually we have already discussed to you. Then everyone, we are talking about the methods. So just a minute, let me adjust slightly. Into this pagination and sorting repository, practically we come across the two methods. The very first method that actually we come across is going to be the find all method. The very first method that actually we come across is going to be the find all method. And if I'm talking about the next method available, then definitely the next method is actually available, find all method, that is returning the iterable interface. But if I'm talking about the paging and sorting, then it is actually providing us list again. Now we are available on one interface. The name of the interface is actually called the pageable interface. What exactly the role and responsibility of the pageable interface is? It is actually abstract interface for the pagination information. It is an abstract interface for the pagination information. Can you see that there is no parent interface or there is no sub interface available? Yes or no? There is no interface available. And one more thing that actually you can notice in this scenario. If I'm talking about the pageable, then pageable is a interface. And if I'm talking about its implementing class, then can you see that one implementing class is available? The name of the implementing class is called page request class. Yes or no? Can you see that one class is available? The name of the class is actually called the page request class. So if I'm talking about the page request class, so page request class is basic implementation of the pageable interface. So can I pass object of pageable to this find all method? Yes or no? Can I pass object of page request to this find all method? Answer is yes, because a reference variable of interface can point to object of implementing class. Okay, I need object. To create the object, can I say that I can specify page number, total number of records in a page number, and what will be the sorting order? Can you see into the constructor we can specify page number, how many records will be available in that page number, and what will be the sorting order. All the three information you can specify. So very first thing is available to you that you can actually directly use the constructor. But if I'm talking about the constructor, can you see that one access modifier is available that is called protected? If it is protected, can I call it outside its package in the non-sub class? Answer is no, because it is protected access modifier, so I cannot call it. But can you see that there are some static methods available? Can you see that one static method is available that is called off method? And if I'm talking about this method, then this is a simple static method and it is public method. Can I call this method outside the package in non-subclass? Answer is yes, I can call this. So this is what exactly my first method is available. Into this first method, I am specifying the page number and I am specifying the size. And always keep in mind that the page numbers are actually started from 0. So for first page number, you have to specify the parameter 0. Can I say this is same as array-based system? The first page is actually available at the index number 0. So this is one thing that actually you need to keep in mind, that for the first page, we have to pass for the first page, we have to pass page equal to 0 and size specify the size parameter specify total records per page. Clear it is? The size actually specifies total records per page. So this is that actually one method is available. Apart from that, next method is also available to you. Into this next method, you can specify the sorting criteria also. Into this next method, you can specify the sorting criteria also. So you have to use the of method to get the object. The sort, specify the sorting criteria. Is that okay? The sort actually specify the sorting criteria. Then you wanted to specify the direction, you wanted to specify the properties. So methods are available. You can actually directly go with them. So whatever the important methods are there, I am directly writing for you. Whatever important methods are there, that actually I am directly writing for you. So you can specify the direction, etc. So overall, how to get the object, this thing is clear for all. how to get the object. This thing is clear for all. But everyone, if I'm talking about the return type of this method, return type is a list or a page object. Return type is a list or a page object. Option 1 or option 2. Definitely this is a page object. So let us talk about the page interface also. Let us talk about the page interface also. Can you see that page is an interface available? It is a kind of sub list of records. The page is nothing but it is very much like a sub list of the records. And if I'm talking about its implementing classes, then can you see that one of the implementing class is available? The name of implementing class is page IMPL class. Answer is yes. But directly object will be available to me. Can you see that there is one method available? The name of the method is called get total elements. Yes or no? It actually tell you that how many total elements are available on this page. This method actually tell you that how many elements are available on this page. And apart from this, one more method is available. The name of the method is called the get total pages method. That actually tell you that how many total pages are available for your records. How many total pages are available for your records. But everyone, I'm getting the total elements, I'm getting the total pages, but how to get the records one by one? Isn't it a challenge? How to get the records one by one? This is not told to us. Okay, so well, this class is not very much important for me, but if I'm talking about the page interface, can you see that parent interface of the page interface is iterable? Parent interface of page interface is slice interface. So I'm talking about the slice interface. What exactly the slice interface is doing? A slice of data that indicate whether there is next or previous slides available. It allow to obtain the page request to request a previous or next slide. So this is what actually slice is there. So practically what you have to do, see, simple logic. Slice is the parent interface of page interface. Yes or no? Slice is the parent interface of page interface. Logic is clear, everyone? Because the slice interface is the parent interface of page interface. So whatever methods that are available into the slice, they will be available into the page. Yes or no? Whatever interfaces that are available into the slice, it will be available into the page interface. Similarly, everyone, when I was talking to you about the page request and the pageable interface, then one thing that I already told you that page interface is, oh, just a minute. One thing that I already told you is that if I am talking about the page request, then simple logic you can find out here is pageable interface, page request interface. Into the pageable and page request interface. So this is all about the implementation. These diagrams I have created just actually for the sake of your memory. They will remember you. Into the slice interface. Now I'm talking about the slice interface. Into the slice interface, some methods are available, but can you see that first method, get content? It is actually going to provide you list of elements. Yes or no? It is actually going to provide you list of elements. First method is available, get number of elements, get pageable is available, get size, get sort, has content, has next, has previous, is first, is last. So a lot of useful methods are available for you. But if I'm talking about the very first useful method, then definitely the very first useful method is going to be of the has content. Then if I'm talking about the next part, Boolean has content. Into the Boolean has content, definitely if you wanted to check whether the more content is available or not, you can. Whether it is your first slice or last slice, you can check also. Whether this is your first slice or last slice, this is also done. Similarly here, first, last, slice, this is also done. Has next method is also available. Has previous method is available. So you can directly use them. You can directly use them. So all the useful methods according to best of my memory I have provided to you. Pageable is also what actually you can take. Shall I take one example, everyone? Shall I take one simple example? And this is going to be the last example. Association mapping is pending that we will discuss tomorrow. And tomorrow we are having leap session also. Tomorrow we are having leap session also. So, well, we will manage, no problem. Tomorrow, please, before coming to class, read about the association mapping and one more thing. Along with the today's content, association mapping, what kind of association mapping is an example properly, all values I am providing you. Please go through this documentation. Tomorrow we will complete association mapping in a very short span of time. because association mapping is 100% same as whatever you have done in the Hibernate. Announcement is completed. Coming back to the code. Coming back to the code. Okay. So one thing, everyone, I wanted to create the object of page request, and to create the object of the page request, I want page and I want size. I want page request and I want size. I can specify the sorting criteria also if required, but right now I am completely focused on the page and the size. Right now, completely I am focused on the page and the size. So let me come to STS. Into the STS, first of all, I am talking about the student service. Into the student service, I am writing the parameters. And apart from writing the parameters, I am writing one thing, that get student data page wise. I'm writing here, that is get students page wise. Get students page wise is what exactly I am writing. When I'm writing get student page wise, integer page is one parameter I am specifying, and the next parameter I am specifying is the size. Let me copy this, and after copying this part, let me go to the implementing class. And when I'm talking about the implementing class, so get where is that method? That one, yeah. Copy, coming here, coming to this part, and definitely I have to use at the rate override annotation. After writing at the rate override annotation, first of all, create an object of page request. Yes or no? Yes or no? Can I assign the same thing to a local variable? Answer is yes, you can assign the same thing to a local variable. If I'm talking about the page request, then page request is a class. But if I'm talking about the pageable, then you know it very well that pageable is an interface. Pageable is an interface. Can I do this assignment, everyone? Error is there. Let me check if I imported the correct pageable. I have to import that one. I have to actually import that one. Sometime due to wrong import, actually we are getting unnecessarily stuck. So this time, I wanted to import the pageable, and pageable I have to import of this data dot domain. Now pageable is available to me. Once the pageable is available to me, then using the student repository, can I simply call the find all method? Into the find all method, can I pass the PG? Yes or no? It is providing me an object of page class. When it is actually providing me object of page class, can I directly call the get content method? Yes or no? Can I directly call the get content method? Answer is yes, I can call the get content method. Once I have called the get content method, then it is done. One more minor check that actually you can apply is if the value of, if the has content method is actually returning you false. In this condition, can I throw an exception? In this condition, can I throw an exception? If has content method is actually returning false, in this condition, can I throw an exception? Answer is yes. So I can say that no student records for. You can say that page, whatever be the page number, whatever be the page number. So this is one job that actually we have done. Let me try this example. So copy. And after copying, coming to the student controller. While coming to the student controller, let me copy the signature as it is. Coming to the student controller, I'm talking about this part, then returning. After returning, then again, I have to return a response entity. And when I'm returning a response entity, yeah, when I'm writing a returning response entity, this part is done. Thereafter, we are talking about the next part, that return new response entity list of student. And then the point that actually I have to write down is that is get a student page wise. The first parameter that I have to specify is the page. The next parameter I have to specify is the size. Definitely both the parameters I have to take with the help of get mapping. So let me create the URL pattern. Into this URL pattern, last two parameters I am avoiding. The first thing that we are writing is going to be the size. The next parameter that actually we have to write down is going to be the page. And here I am writing that is get student page wise. Get student page wise is the mapping that actually I am writing here. And definitely for both the variables, I have to use @path variable annotation. Done. Let me relaunch this application. First of all, everyone, how many records are available? How many records are available? Total 7 records are available. Okay. Application is started. After starting the application, the very first thing that I am doing for you is URL pattern is going to be get student page wise / page number 0. I am talking about the 2 records. I am talking about the 2 records. No message available. Let me write down 1/2. No message available. Let me check why exactly this exception is there. And if I'm talking about this exception, then in this exception, the name of the implementing class is that one. Let me check. I think the logic is wrong. I think the logic is wrong into the service layer. Into the service layer. If the has content method is what exactly has content method will return whether the slice has content. So in case of 0, 2, let me see what exactly the query is executing. So right now, actually, no query is getting executed. Once actually, let me comment this logic. Once let me comment this logic. Might be due to this logic, actually, we are getting problem. The server is getting started again. Then let me hit the same dependency again. Request is get. Again, same problem. What it is saying? No message available. By default, handler is working. If I'm talking about the spellings, etc., might be they are wrong. Coming to the student controller. Into the student controller, we are talking about get request. Into the get request, we are writing get student page wise. After the get student page wise, the first parameter that I have to pass is the page. Second parameter I have to pass is the size. That slash is actually wrong. That slash is actually wrong. Now let me hit this. And when I'm hitting this, everyone, how many records are available? 2 records are available starting from the roll number 3 and 4. If I'm writing 0, 2, how many records are available? 2, starting from the roll number 1. If I'm talking about the page number 2, then in case of the page number 2, can I say that practically I am getting the data for the page number 3? Answer is yes. If I'm talking about the page number 3, what exactly data I am getting? Only 1 record. If I'm writing the page number 4, am I going to get any data? Answer is no. Answer is no. So this time it will be a better choice to uncomment that code so that if no data is available, it will show a proper exception. So clicking on the send button, everything is okay. When I'm talking about the page number 4, then in case of the page number 4, I'm getting proper data. Is that clear how this pagination and sorting is working? Yes, it is. That's all for the day, everybody. Go and take your lunch. Thereafter, please make sure to fill the feedback form. Okay. This example will be shared to you. Make sure to revise everything. Tomorrow come with the association mapping. Tomorrow we have small topics like project Lombok. We will talk about the Swagger. Then we will talk about the logging. Stopping the recording.